Georgia, Tennessee this past weekend in Knoxville. Now, listen, Joe, I thought that this game was going to get a little crazy. Let me tell you why, okay? I thought my pick was in jeopardy. I saw your boy Wright go 75-yard run for a touchdown. I was like, oh, shit. All right. End of the first quarter. Here comes Peyton Manning escorting Dolly Parton. I was like, big boob Dolly Parton. All right. She's singing off key. And I'm like, oh, shit. Georgia's in trouble.
Oh, my God.
And then I remember very quickly, Kirby Smart's the head coach of the Georgia Bulldogs. And they came out. Listen, I'm going to be real with you. I say this every week. I just don't know if I've seen a quarterback who steps in the very next year, okay? Like, we should have expected Carson Beck to be a step down from Stetson Bennett, right? Mm-hmm. You won 2 national titles. You shouldn't expect that. Joe, the game that Carson Beck just had on Saturday, my God, he 24 for 30, 298, 3 touchdowns. You know who my favorite player on the Georgia Bulldogs is. It's Dylan Bell. He threw for 1, a touchdown, 5 catches, 90 yards. Lan McConkey, where are you? Like, Joe, it does. Every time I watch Georgia play, it doesn't matter what happens. Brock Bowers out. Doesn't matter. They're going to continue to plug offensively. Lad Mahonky doesn't have a catch. Does not matter. This team's going to roll. But Tennessee defensively got 5 stops, either stops or held Georgia to a field goal. Now, Tennessee could have and should have. I'm not saying they're going to win it. I don't think they would have won it. Tennessee should have kept that game close, but Joe Milton kept them out of it. Because when you have 5 punts, turnover on downs, or you stop them to field goals, Joe, you should be able to offensively be able to go down the field, okay, and get you some points to keep you close in that game. When you make that many stops, right? Mm-hmm. The bottom line is for Tennessee fans, you better be glad Milton's out, because I texted you during the game. I'm pretty sure I texted you or tweeted you. I don't remember.
You tweeted me, yeah.
Nico, say his last name?
Iamaleava.
Iamaleava should have been in that football game. And you told me during the week, everybody got on Blake, you can't put him in there against Georgia. Joe Milton is regressing in front of our eyes. What do you mean that he shouldn't be in that game?
Wait, let's be real for a second. The guy, he was never good. He was never a good quarterback.
He led them to a 7-1, 7-2 record. It's not like they were bad. My point is, Joe, he's 17 of 30, excuse me. Like, there are wide open passes that he's missing. So when I look at like Josh Heupel and people are like, oh my God, what's going on with Josh Heupel? He's got wide ass open receivers. He's just too goddamn hard-headed to put Nico in there that gives him a chance. Joe, I'm going to tell you something. They got, again, 5 stops, either turnover downs, punts, or field goals. Tennessee should have been at minimum in the game. But Georgia just continues to impress. They're the best team. Joe, if you ask me today, who's going to win a natty, there's nobody in the field that I think that can beat them no matter what happens. Georgia's just that good, man.
I know that we're kind of a broken record at this point, and it seems like people think that we're a Georgia podcast. I can promise you that we're not. But our thoughts on them are just continually reemphasized. I'm going to go back to the take that I had last week. The way that they play football is genuinely unique in the sense that they just slowly beat up on you throughout the game to a point where you're submitting by the end of it. That Jalen Wright touchdown, I was like, okay. Everyone scores seemingly on their first drive when they play Georgia. Usually they figure out pretty quickly how to stop everything, and then the game gets away from them, and then Georgia starts to pull away. I also tweeted this, and I think I've seen a number of other people share the same sentiment. I feel like every single week Carson Beck is improving. I feel like there is a different facet of his game that is improving and getting better, and I think it's gotten to the point where his decision-making, his poise, his delivery, his timing,
Right.
all of that stuff is at an elite level. I don't think he's going to declare for the 2024 NFL draft from what I've heard. But if he did, he would be at the very minimum the 4th quarterback in the class. The kid is phenomenal.
He's not leaving.
I don't think he will. There is, if he has an agent, they will advise him to stay because let's be honest, a lot of times these quarterbacks that have only started
He wouldn't go above like a Caleb.
No, he wouldn't go above it. It would go Caleb, Drake May in any order of those two.
Jaden Daniels.
I'm hearing Jaden Daniels might be 3, and then Carson Beck would probably be 4.
Be just him and Shedeur.
Right. That's why it would probably behoove him to stay, because then it doesn't matter if there's no conversation. There's too many quarterbacks. It would be better for him to go back, go in a second freaking national title, and then march on off to the NFL. Maybe even with a Heisman Trophy if he plays as good as he's doing this year. He might even be in the conversation this year.
Look, he's not.
He might win the award. Let's be honest with ourselves. He might win the award just off of the bias of picking the best team and giving the best player on the best team that award. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Here's the thing on that, what you just said, I keep hearing, okay, Marvin Harrison, like best player in the game. He had 3 catches for 30 yards.
His draft projection.
I don't give a flying shit about his draft projection.
That's what I'm getting at. Everyone has allowed his draft projection to be assimilated with his Heisman hype. They're not the same thing. They're not.
I love Marvin Harrison. I think
yes.
If I'm a GM, and look, I'm an LSU guy, I would have a conversation about obviously Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison, but 6'4" dudes that run 4 threes don't grow on trees.
No.
All right. The bottom line becomes for this Georgia team, Joe, they beat you in so many different ways. Dylan Bell is, who Georgia is? Can I tell you who Georgia is?
Who?
They're the Patriots with Brady.
Yeah, I like that.
Because you got dudes like Dylan Bell throwing touchdown passes, 5 catches, 90 yards. Defensively, Joe, I think they're getting better, which is scary. But they're getting better there.
That was my whole thing last week, is I brought up the fact that Jamon Dumas-Johnson, who is the centerpiece, that having a Mike linebacker that's experienced, that is the most important.
Explosive.
He's a good player too, and he's going to be drafted highly, but that's usually a really important piece to lose to injury. And they got a freshman in there, and the kid's playing great. That to me is what is frightening, and why everybody needs to be put on notice, is that they are so freaking deep on both sides of the football because they've recruited at an incredible level. They've not necessarily had the number 1 class every single year over the past couple of years, but they've gone and grabbed the right guys at important positions to have depth. That's why this team is in a position to run it back and win another national title.
I think their offensive line, look now, Milton, here's something that's interesting. Okay. It doesn't matter what you do, they're going to find ways to beat you. Let me give you an example. Kendall Milton had 14 carries for 66 yards. They did not run the ball effectively. I forget when this play was called. I'm sure Georgia fans will remind me. The little reverse that they had, okay, Bobo's in his bag, buddy. I know that you will give it to whoever's calling plays at Washington, Mike Denbrock at LSU, as Broyles Award winners. I am throwing Mike Bobo in that conversation. Okay.
Was Bobo one of the? I know that they released the 50 finalists.
I think he's a semifinalist. But
okay,
listen,
good.
I'm talking about dudes that should be sent to New York. Okay, when we do these all the pick, Mike Bobo should be there because it's just the way that he's calling plays. Okay, you can't run the football effectively. Carson Beck's going to light it up for you. Dylan Bell's going to light it up for you. And, Joe, they're not even fully healthy. Lad McConkey is out for whatever reason. I said, he's a healthy – bullshit. He's hurt. Okay? They didn't need him. The problem is, Joe, they are beat up and still beating the shit out of everybody. Joe, that's 3 straight weeks that they played a ranked opponent and demolished them.
That's the key there. That's the key. Everybody, and you know what's so aggravating? You can clip this part too. Here's the aggravating part. I heard for
10 weeks. Who has Georgia played? Who has Georgia played? Who has Georgia played? Well, the last 3 weeks, Georgia's played ranked opponents wherever you want to put Tennessee. They've played ranked opponents, Missouri, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and beat the dog crap out of everybody. Maybe not Missouri so much, but dude, that's what makes him scary. Kirby is playing on NCAA. He's playing on varsity. And the recruiting part of it, he's playing on junior varsity.
Yes.
That's how good
Yes.
they've been. And I don't think people understand that part.
Well, the ones that are paying attention understand. And the ones that should be fans of these teams that are in the top 5 should be very afraid. I am praying for whatever team has to play them in the first round. That could be just a total momentum game for them. Oh, you put up your finger. I thought you were going to say something.
Oh, no.
Oh.
I was putting myself on mute.
I was rounding out my point, though. We say the same thing every single week. We're probably not going to talk about them at all this week, which might hurt our views a little bit.
Well, it's Thanksgiving. Nobody's,
Well, but they're playing Georgia Tech, so maybe we should do a Georgia Tech preview. Maybe we should, just for the sake of our audience.
To end this for me.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been thinking about this all day. Maybe because I'm from the South. Who knows? The Alabama-Georgia game is the most intriguing game that I think that I have left. Now, I know Ohio State and Michigan are playing this week, but I got to be real with you. After what I've seen, we're going to talk about Michigan here in a minute. From what I've seen from Michigan the last 2 weeks, I don't have a lot of faith in them. Okay. It comes down to Kirby and Nick again. We talked all that shit about the SEC, or people talked all that shit about the SEC. And I do think, whether you like it or not, the best 2 teams playing right now, okay, is Alabama and Georgia. And you can hate me for it. You can say I'm biased.
I don't agree with that.
Who else?
Michigan had a bad game, and I don't think that we should,
drag
them down
if
for
JJ
one game.
McCarthy does that against Alabama, they're gonna get their asses beat.
You're right. You're absolutely right. But they're not going to play Alabama. They're not going to face off with.
If Alabama, if Michigan,
Alabama will not beat Georgia, I will continually bang the table for that statement. You and I both know that they will not beat Georgia. Alabama cannot.
You never know.
They have.
Again, who has them contracts with the playoff? ESPN. Hey, guys, we're going to call some plays against Georgia, get them to lose. We can get 2 SEC teams into the playoff.
If that happens and we have 2 SEC teams in the playoff, I might not show up for this show, for those previews. I might just sit and listen to you talk. I might just mute my mic and sit and listen to you talk. I might do that.
You can say they can't throw. I don't know who he's saying he can't throw, but you better not say Milroe.
Wait, let's put a little asterisk on that. They won't be able to throw against Georgia. There's no way.
I do not think that they'll be able to throw against Georgia.
One-on-one, Trey Burton is not – he is not going to get the plays that he gets against some of these opponents going up against Kamari Lassiter and that secondary. They're one of the few teams that's going to be able to go one-on-one man coverage and lock them down. I'm telling y'all right now.